Someone once told me the grass is much greener.
We have a lot of cool stuff planned for season 3.
Being proud of who you are no matter what you do.
You definitely see the characters progress a lot more. They start growing up.
I think Ginger and Darren are endgame.
It is a masterpiece of an episode.
Oh, it's the cattiest moment in the history of television.
Trust me, everybody has been excited for our thoughts on it. Who's the girl in the pink capri?
It's Courtney, it's Courtney!
Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of We're in Between, the podcast that discusses about every single episode of As Told by Ginger once a week. This week we have ourselves a bonus podcast, and if you tuned in to the episode recap of Butterflies Are Free or No Turning Back, we had with us a very special guest. She was in the third TV movie as a slight cameo thanks to the Make-A-Wish Foundation when she requested to be on a particular episode of As Told by Ginger. So now that we have her here with us, we have Leandra. So welcome, Leandra.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So, right before we go into our listener questions, I must ask, so how did you first get introduced to As Told by Ginger?
I grew up on Nickelodeon like any other kid born in the late 80s, early 90s. So I was into Rugrats, Clarissa, all those things, Power, everything. So I was really into, Nickelodeon in general. But As Told by Ginger just really resonated with me because she was the same age as I was. She kind of looked like I did. And themes and a lot of the plot lines and characters really resonated with me as, a middle schooler.
Yeah, I can imagine because, for the few people who did watch As Told by Ginger when it came out, they said that it really resonated with them because they were the same age and, they were going through the same things. So back then I wasn't surrounded by all those people because I was already in high school when the show came out. And everybody that I knew was getting into Invader Zim. I felt like I was the only person who got into As Told by Ginger amongst my peers. And I wouldn't know about the fan base of As Told by Ginger until many years later when I joined online as a content creator. And that was when everybody was telling me about how much they loved the show. And I was pretty shocked by it.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems to have a big following, bigger than I would have ever expected. Though it is a really clever show.
Yeah, definitely. I think that maybe a lot of people are realizing that now because, back then, there was not really much a show like As Told by Ginger. I mean, sure, maybe some people would bring up What About Doug or Hey Arnold, but it was slightly different than those two shows. Definitely a little bit more dramatic than both of them.
And it also Need, which, neither of those shows had.
That is true. So I think that maybe now, I think that people are starting to appreciate it a lot more than they did back almost 20 years ago.
Gosh, wow, it has been that long.
Yeah, I know. 3 years from now, it'll celebrate its 20th anniversary, and I just found a gray hair on my head.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
Same.
So, yes, I know we talked about this briefly at the episode recap. So how did you eventually become, a cameo guest in As Told by Ginger?
All right, so about 17 years ago, almost to the day, I was sick. I was diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome, and I needed a bone marrow transplant. And being 11 years old at the time, I knew that I was eligible for a wish from Make-A-Wish Foundation. So, of course, amidst getting diagnosed and getting all these treatment options, one of the first things I did was go on the internet and submit a request for a wish because, of course, I'm going to do that. So my first wish was actually to be on SNL, but they said I was too young. So then my second wish was to be on All That because All That was amazing. But All That got canceled, so then I couldn't be on All That. And then
this was back in 2000, right?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed in 2000, treated the end of 2000 to 2001, and I think the wish actually got, so to speak, in 2003, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Because all that would have been canceled that year, and the revival of All That wouldn't have happened until 2002.
Yeah. So they were like, yeah, we can't really put you on all that either. What's another thing you want to do? And I was like, well, I love As Told by Ginger, so let me be on that.
That's actually pretty surprising, because, I'm sure for some people, like, back in 2002, they probably would have been like, I want to be in an episode of SpongeBob or something.
I mean, SpongeBob was cool, but it was also kind of new at the time, and I felt like I identified more with this cute red-haired girl than with the Sponge.
Sure, I
like,
definitely do.
As a wacky adult, yeah, I totally identify more with SpongeBob now. For another podcast. So, yeah, no, I was just really into As Told by Ginger, of course, as an 11-year-old, 14-year-old, making the transition from middle school into high school and dealing with a lot of these things like growing up, having boyfriends, wearing makeup for the first time, trying to fit in. I was really into it. And I still love animated works and animated movies and even shows, to be honest. Like, I love Futurama and I love Archer, and I still watch plenty of cartoons as an adult. So, but yeah, so I flew out to LA. They flew me out to LA. And a lot of the voice actors were there together on the day I went to record, which I was told isn't usually a thing. Like, usually they would record their parts kind of separately, but a lot of them happened to be there on the 2 days that I went onto set to record with them. So it was awesome. I got to meet, a lot of really cool, I got to meet Kat Susie, Cree Summer, both of whom were in Rugrats. I got to meet Tress MacNeille, who's been in basically everything. She's Futurama, Tiny Toon Adventures. Just, I don't even know what she hasn't been in. She was in Rugrats too. She's just like prolific as a voice actor.
Yeah, I met her. I met her last year, and she was really nice.
She is. She's super nice, and she's just just amazing. Her voice is amazing. I can't believe she's voiced just so many different characters. She was even in wasn't she Dot? I think she was Dot.
Yeah, she was
right?
Dot in Animaniacs. I actually have an autographed picture of Tress MacNeille, Rob Paulson, and Jess Harnell hanging in my wall right now of the Animaniacs characters.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so it was cool meeting her. And then Lorraine Newman, who was on SNL, so that was pretty sweet too.
Yeah.
Everyone was just super nice. It was super great. I got to tour the Klasky Csupo studio. I got to go out to there with the whole cast and crew. I met Emily Kapnick and went out to dinner with her too. And it was just great. It was like a little kid's dream come true. And it was cool, I guess. And that's like a testament to Make-A-Wish, is that I didn't just like go and like record this one-off thing. Like, they went above and beyond. They took me to the animation studios. They let me have a say in designing the way my character looked. I went out to eat with, the crew and the cast. And so it was like a pretty comprehensive wish that I got granted. And so I guess looking back, that is a pretty unique and awesome thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So please tell us, like, what were your favorite moments that happened when you were over there recording your lines, or even watching the actors recording their lines?
And I mean, it was a long time ago, but one of the cool things I remember was a lot of improv going on. And I actually jotted down the line where class schedules and Macy Mayhaps. Macy's the one with the glasses, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just wanted to double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, she says like mayhaps. And that was totally improv because it was perhaps in the written script, and the actor was just like, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to say it this other way, and because I want to.
Of course.
And so it was cool that kind of thing was welcomed. It was cool to see the process. It was cool to meet everyone and get pictures and hang out with everyone. I gotta say, at the time, I was really into acting and like theater, so I was a little bit more enamored with record and meet all that voice actors. But looking back, I can say it was also just as cool to see animation studios and to get to see, like the storyboards, the character design, the colors, and all these different departments for If you listen to the other podcast I mentioned, I got to see even a couple of other shows. I saw some development for the Wild Thornberries, and I got to see them trying to make the character of Eliza Thornberry a little bit more mature as well. So it was really cool, and I feel like I got a lot of unique insight into the direction of these kind of adolescent shows as that demographic was growing up. It was super fun just being in the recording studio with these voice actors. And they're also, the thing you don't think about is episode, I was like, oh my gosh, my voice is so low compared to all of these other characters. It's like they make their voice just go so high.
Yeah, and it's ironic because, you're the actual kid and they're the adults and their voices are higher and your voice is...
Right? Yeah, so I have to say, I was almost a little bit self-conscious about it. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm this cool character with this like low raspy voice. Go me. But at the time I was like, my voice sounded like that. I actually am 14. So that was kind of funny. I don't know. So it was really cool. Just like seeing these adults kind of have fun pretending to be kids too. I think that's another thing that, I don't think about much when it comes to voice acting is that it is adults playing kids. So that was kind of a cool thing to see these adults just like letting their imaginations run a little bit wild and get to improv and really have fun with it. So that was a really great part of it for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're willing to share the pictures of when you were working with the voice actors and just your experience as a whole, I would love to share with everybody on the forums.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to see because they're in Florida and I just moved. But yeah, let me see if I can get my parents to scan and send me some of those because we do still have them and they're pretty awesome.
Awesome. All right. And, one final question and then I'll go over to the listeners' question. So since your bone marrow treatment, how have you been feeling since then?
Oh, honestly, knock wood, I got real lucky. I basically, for all intents and purposes, got cured with that. So it's kind of funny because myelodysplastic syndrome, I feel like I have to kind of plug here for this rare disease. Again, it's not a disease that kids usually get. It's oftentimes associated with something that happens after people has had cancer already, and then they get this disease as the result of being exposed to too much chemo or radiation.
Wow.
So kind of like a mixture between bone marrow failure and bone marrow malignancy. So it's kind of in that weird like in between area where your bone marrow is not really working, but it's also trying really hard to work. So it's becoming kind of cancerous. And yeah, oftentimes for a really severe case like I had, the only possible treatment is a bone marrow transplant. So I will say, medicine has come a long way in the last 17 years, and there are a lot more treatments now. There's a lot more information on the internet about this disease now. All of that considered, I got really lucky. I got really, really lucky. And also at the time, the National Bone Marrow Registry of people who are signed up to donate bone marrow was about 2.5 million. Now it's about quintuple that. I would say off the top of my head, I think it's about 10 million individuals are registered to donate bone marrow. But so if you're listening to this, for sure, go out because you never know if you might be the match for a little kid like me. There's no way I would be alive if not for literally this one lady who signed up at a golf tournament to donate her bone marrow. And she literally, people use literally pretty liberally these days, but I am serious. She was the one person out of 2.5 million people who was a match for me.
Wow. So
otherwise, they would have done some weird experimental thing where they mixed my mom's bone marrow with my bone marrow. I don't know. I couldn't see it working.
Sure.
But yeah, so I got extremely lucky, extremely lucky, both in terms of this woman being able to donate to me and, the way my prognosis went. So, and my the progression, like the treatment. Yeah. So honestly, not good. Couldn't have gone better. It really could not have gone better. And I haven't had complications since then. It was kind of just a one time. I'm lucky to be able to have grown up and you know, gotten to fulfill this that through in terms of having a child, having an adolescence, and you know, an 11-year-old get the chance to hit puberty and go through, you know, being a teenager. Like, in fact, I was told to my face that I wasn't going to survive. So in a way, that made this definitely more meaningful. That, you know, I not only survived this horrible random leukemia-like disease, but I kind of affirm my adolescence and my ability to grow up by doing this project. So that was pretty awesome.
I'm really happy for you. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
So let's go over to our listener questions. So let's start things off with Norbert, and he asks, hello, Leandra. This is definitely an interesting guest choice since all the other voice actors that have been on the podcast have been main or reoccurring. Aside from Butterflies Are Free, what is your personal favorite episode of As Told by Ginger?
Oh, geez, this is a hard one, especially because I haven't watched these episodes in so long. But, oh, man. Okay, I gotta think about this for a second. I liked Camp Caprice a lot. That one was really cute. And that song, there were copper-colored ponies and the air smelled like that. It's a total earworm song. Gets stuck in my head every time. So probably Camp Caprice is up there. I'm embarrassed to admit I'm kind of having a tough time remembering individual.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, that one is definitely up there. Oh, also the one where she shaves her legs. Because
that's let me. I remember this. Yeah, the Frizzy Lizzies. That's the episode.
Move the head and shake her legs for her.
Yeah, that's Cry Wolf.
Yeah, I was definitely with her on that one because I also had weird red leg hair and just that again resonated with me a lot as a person of that age and gender.
Wow. That's pretty awesome, actually. That's, out of all the things that a person could relate to in As Told by Ginger, you and her sharing the same hairy red legs. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. Well, that was, they knew my demographic and they played to it pretty well.
That's pretty awesome. So if you can't think of anything else, then don't worry about it. That's okay. So let's go over to our next question. The next question comes from Plinko-Matic. And this person says, Leandra, how did your friends and family react to you being on As Told by Ginger as the episode aired in the States 2 years after the recording session and possibly months after it aired in other countries?
Oh, man. I do have to say, I don't know that a lot of saw it. And especially because at that time I would have been 16. So I was in high school. And, being in high school, you don't really want to draw attention to the fact that you're a cancer survivor because you don't want to be known as Cancer Girl. And I don't know. It was something I was trying to fly under the radar and something that made me blush a lot at the time. So I don't actually, my friends didn't know very much. And then it was only occasionally someone would come up to me and be like, As Told by Ginger, and this person has the same name as you. Isn't that weird? I was like, yeah, that's so weird. That's so random. So it's not that I was ashamed of it per se, but I definitely was a little bit happened. And I think the other thing is because it was so long from the time I made the wish to when I recorded to when it was released, a bit of a disconnect there. So it was a little, I guess the word I would use to describe it was kind of anticlimactic.
Wow.
Another interesting little tidbit is and this also kind of speaks to how long ago it was and kind of the shift in technology, but I got that episode on a VHS tape.
Wow.
it was after I finished recording and after the animation finished, so I was able to see it, and I was like, oh, this came out great, that's awesome. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then it was released, a year or two later, and then I honestly did not even know when it released. Maybe that's a weird thing, but it was kind of a long process. Yeah. So I don't know that, a lot of my family were happy to see it when I brought the tape home and I showed it to them, and they were all so proud of me. And, I had my stepdad with the huge brick digital camera at the time taking pictures of the TV itself with the stuff up. But yeah, it was a little bit kind of under the radar when it came out. So it wasn't too big of a deal.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That is a very, very interesting take on the story. I can definitely understand with you what you went through, that you didn't want to bring it up again. You just wanted to move on from that, and the fact that, oh man, I'm on TV because of this reason that I don't want to talk about. Should I say something? Should I not? It's, it definitely, with As Told by Ginger, it's you're a teenager and you're trying to move up to adulthood, and you don't want to bring up embarrassing things that you once did, or things that you think is embarrassing. Because they think, oh, they make fun of you for that. So, yeah, I can definitely understand why you didn't say that in front of your classmates, and the stigma that would have left behind if you did.
Mm-hmm. Again, it wasn't a huge deal, and then also I guess the big factor was the amount of time it took between when I made the wish, when I recorded it, and when it was released, because it was kind of 2 years in between each of those things. Yeah. From when it happened, and then from when it happened to when it was released. So, again, I think that was a factor, too.
Sure. Going into our next question, so Norbert asks his second question. He says, Leandra, if there ever was an As Told by Ginger revival or reunion in some way, like Nickelodeon's been doing, like Double Dare, Hey Arnold, Invader Zim, and more, do you think that Leandra would return for the revival? What role do you think she would play, and would you be willing to voice her again?
Oh, man. Well, starting with the last question, heck yeah, I would definitely voice her again. I feel like she would be this cool, bohemian, well-traveled individual. Maybe kind of I don't know, maybe a little bit like me, because I've traveled a bit since college and since high school, and that's been pretty cool. Another cool thing is I play guitar now, so maybe she would do that too. I
think I have an idea. Leandra and Ginger guitar duet.
There you go. I would do that, and I could do the alto. Melissa Disney could be the soprano. You hit those harmonies. I would be into it. We could even have Miranda on oboe. Doesn't she play oboe or something?
The clarinet.
Clarinet and. Yeah, Macy. So we could be like a little folk band together or something.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
But as for whether I actually think they would invite me, probably not. But if they did, I would totally be willing to do it.
All right, fantastic. I think the last question is, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. You can keep it private for obvious reasons. So, one last question from Plinko-Matic, and this person asks, "What are you doing these days? And have you told people over the years about voicing a character as Told by Ginger?"
Okay, so I think we covered the second part of that question.
Yeah.
Nah, I haven't told a lot of people about it. But, so as for what I'm doing these days, bounced around the world a little bit and taught a lot of kids. So I've been a tutor, I've been a classroom teacher, I've taught in Europe for 2 years in 2 different countries, and I've taught a bunch of different students in one-on-one capacities, small groups. So that's one thing I do. Another thing I do is also I've taught a lot of yoga, and I guess that pretty much sums it up. So I'm pretty much a teacher. It's not something I thought I'd be doing, but it is something that I enjoy doing.
Yes.
When it's not super stressful.
And you're also an artist.
I've actually just recently moved up north to the northeast of the United States. So I'm not doing that quite as much anymore, but yeah, in the warmer climate, I was living in Florida for many years, and I did a lot of henna, so I've been doing that quite a while now. I do that, yeah, and I've been teaching yoga, and I've been teaching students a whole bunch of, like, I do a lot of SAT and ACT test prep. And yeah, now I'm kind of looking for my next endeavor, now that I've moved up north and I'm in a bigger city. I'm kind of seeing what's up next for me.
That's fantastic.
Right now. Yeah. Kind of like butterflies are free.
Yeah, there you go. And we've come full circle.
Going on. Lots of new endeavors. Not sure what's going to happen. And you know what? That's kind of okay.
Yeah, that definitely is okay. And you know what? Now, I actually did get some questions from some people. It's like, how did you get a hold of Leandra? So here's the story. So I actually did get a hold of Leandra back when I was doing As Told by Ginger month back in 2015. And funny story, we were planning on meeting up with one another because where she was living at the time, and where I was living at, I was like an hour away, so we could have met up in person, but unfortunately, certain circumstances prevented us from meeting, but that's okay. Just us, together on the podcast is just as great.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit bad about that, but I had a really crazy summer. I was going on my honeymoon. Oh, and that's another thing. I'm married now. Woo! I guess I forgot to mention that. So I'm married.
Yay!
And I'm an old lady now. I'm an old lady of 28, and
I'm 31, so yeah.
But I guess another kind of cute thing is I've been with my partner, since I was a teenager, so since I was 19. So that's kind of cool and adolescent-y, I guess.
Sure.
I had a pretty great... I was going on my honeymoon, and then I came home and immediately had to pack all my things and move up north. So I wish we could have met in person. That would have been cool.
That's okay. Well, maybe if you ever visit Florida again, or maybe if I ever go to the Northeast for whatever reason, then yeah, maybe we can try to meet up with one another.
That would be cool, yeah.
Yeah. All right, final question, and I always ask this to everybody. What do you think of the legacy of As Told by Ginger as a whole?
I think it was a really timely and necessary series. I think, again, the fact that, there was a female lead, and it wasn't something crazy like the Wild Thornberrys. Like, I love the Wild Thornberrys. It has its place for sure in the whole Nickelodeon canon. But, it had this whole Dr. Dolittle spin to it, the magical realism thing going on. Whereas I feel that As Told by Ginger was something that, a lot of young girls my age at the time, a lot of middle school girls and high school girls, and in general, just like people growing up, really needed to see. They needed to see that, it's okay. People go through these issues of wearing makeup and these rites of passage, like having, boyfriends and letting go of childhood relics. All of these themes and all of these plot lines and character development tools that were used in the show, I think were, again, just really timely and really relevant and really great for people of our age. And even still today, growing up, I think it was great and held up well over the years.
All right. Well, yeah, that should be it. So, Leandra, thank you so much for coming on by to the podcast. Really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We have some more guests coming in over the next couple of weeks, and we're at the halfway point of the season 3 finale, and we have something really, really special planned for that. So stay tuned. Hope to see you around soon, everybody, and thank you for listening.